I resolved to provide my spouse with assistance. He would make a weekly trip to his parents' residence to assist with household duties and deliver my homemade preserves. One day I desired to deliver the food to them without informing anyone. Tori's appearance caused me to freeze as I approached the residence. She cherished order. In this predictability, she discovered solace, a tranquil oasis from the external turmoil. Her apartment, featuring bookshelves adorned with literary classics and the aroma of freshly baked bread, was a testament to her appreciation for harmony and organization. She instructed literature at the university, engrossing herself in the worlds of Tolstoy and Dostoevsky and discovering the answers to life's eternal questions in their works. Andrei, her spouse, was the complete antithesis of her, a man of precise sciences and an engineer. He resided in a realm that was characterized by blueprints and calculations. However, this distinction did not serve as a dividing line. Rather, it served to enhance their relationship. Tori admired his quiet yet genuine concern, his capacity to solve problems, and his reliability. In turn, Andrei admired her intuition, her refined sense of beauty, and her capacity to derive pleasure from the most mundane of objects. On every Sunday, Andrei would travel to his parents' Lace village by car. It was an unspoken custom that was an integral component of their shared existence. He assisted with domestic chores, repaired fences, and maintained the garden. Tori consistently provided him with a container of food, which included pies, cutlets, broth, and homemade relishes. She was aware that Andrei's parents appreciated her cookery and found it to be a source of pleasure to do something kind for them. Andrei would return in the evening, somewhat fatigued but content. He would discuss his parents, village gossip, and the weather with her. Tori listened, nodded, and posed inquiries. These Sunday excursions were akin to a brief excursion to an alternate reality for them, a realm of tranquilly, and uncomplicated pleasures. Tori observed her spouse. He appeared to be preoccupied recently. It was not that he was less attentive to her. Rather, he continued to bring her coffee in the morning, inquire about her day, and read her poetry before bed. However, there was an unspoken darkness in his gaze. He frequently gazed out the window as if anticipating something or someone. She attributed it to work-related tension or exhaustion. Andrei was engaged in a significant undertaking, and she was aware that it was draining him. She attempted to provide him with the utmost care and attention in the hopes that it would assist him in overcoming his challenges. Tori experienced an unusual sensation on a Saturday morning as she awoke with a desire to surprise him. She made the decision to travel to his parents' residence without providing any prior notification. She desired to observe them, inhale the fresh air, and escape the city's bustle. In the midst of Andrei's labor, she rose from her bed, entered the kitchen, and opened the refrigerator. She had prepared jars of preserves the previous week. She extracted them, arranged them on the table, and commenced the process of packing a bag. She included homemade sausage, pilaf, and a few apple desserts. She was aware that Andrei's parents cherished these gifts. They had consistently expressed their enthusiasm for her visits, complimenting her culinary skills and inquiring about her professional endeavors. Tori envisioned their features as they arrived, their expressions of surprise and joy. She grinned. She delighted in creating unexpected events. She delighted in witnessing the happiness of others. She dressed, donning a warm jacket and comfortable trousers, and then looked out the window. The weather was sunny, but it was also quite cold. Additionally, she elected to don a scarf. Her car keys and the container of food were in her possession when she exited the building. The entrance was where their ancient Neva was located. Tori meticulously placed the bag into the trunk, ensuring that no items were damaged. Once completed, she sat behind the steering and initiated the vehicle. The engine ignited and the Neva initiated its departure. Tori exited the city by driving down the motorway towards the village. She drove at a leisurely pace, savoring the picturesque landscape of the surrounding fields, forests, and rivers. To her, the entire scene appeared to be both tranquil and lovely. Drive time to the village was approximately 2 hours. Tori activated the radio and participated in the melodies. She experienced a sense of liberation and joy. She entertained the notion of surprising Andrei's parents, envisioning their jubilant expressions and their adoration for the food as she traveled. She remembered fragments of the conversations and quips they had exchanged during Sunday luncheon. These excursions had always been a significant aspect of their family life, a modest ritual that bolstered the bond between generations a couple of years ago. She savored the autumn landscape as she drove along the familiar road. The sun diffused through the foliage, casting intricate patterns on the asphalt, and the trees were adorned in gold. Tori altered the radio station to gentle classical music in order to establish a serene and tranquil environment. She believed that this day would be exceptional, replete with affection and tenderness. The emotional tumult that was to befall her was beyond her comprehension. Her heart rate increased as she approached the village. She veered onto a gravel road that led to the residence of Andre's parents. She immediately recognized the house, a small wooden cottage with engraved window frames and a garden brimming with flowers, despite the fact that she had not been there in some time. Tori exited the vehicle and approached the gate, eagerly anticipating the reunion. Nevertheless, the sight she beheld caused her to become motionless. An unfamiliar woman stood beside Andre on the veranda. In her arms was a child, a young lad who was no older than 5. She beamed in response to Andre's words. This was not merely a cordial exchange. It was a much more profound experience. Tori had not observed an intimacy, affection, or tenderness in Andre's gaze in recent interactions with her. Her head hummed, her vision darkened, and she felt the ground slide from under her feet. She endeavored to advance and address Andre, but she was unsuccessful. Her voice was obstructed. Standing paralyzed, she was unable to comprehend the reality of the scene. The boy broke free from the woman's embrace and ran to Andre at that instant. Looking up at him, he wrapped his arms around Andre's thighs and said something. Andre reclined and reciprocated the boy's embrace. While tenderly ruffling his hair, he said something to him. Tori observed affection and tenderness in Andre's eyes at that instant, which she had never witnessed directed towards her. Tori staggered back in shock. She came to the realization that this was not a chance encounter or a brief encounter. It was Andre's alternate existence, which was kept private from her and meticulously protected. A woman, an infant. This was his secondary family. Tori hurried back to the car as she was unable to continue watching. She closed the door and initiated the engine. Her vision was obscured by weeping, and her palms trembled. The driver reversed the vehicle and resumed driving on the road, unsure of her destination or the appropriate course of action. She drove with her eyes closed as tears streamed down her face. One thought resonated in her mind. How could he subject me to this? She experienced feelings of betrayal, deception, and complete destruction. In a single instant, her entire existence of happiness, everything she believed in, was devastated. She remembered the first time they met, their wedding, and their future plans. It all felt like an untruth, a deception at this point. She was curious as to when it had commenced, when Andre had commenced leading a double existence. Is it possible that she was so oblivious that she failed to observe anything? The astonishment gradually dissipated, giving way to wrath and pain. Tori experienced a surge of anger within her. She desired to return, confront Andre, and express her true feelings towards him. However, she was also apprehensive of being informed the truth, apprehensive that her suspicions would be verified. She recalled moments that were once insignificant but now held new significance. His recent detachment, his frequent visits to his parents, and his late returns. Memories of these events flashed through her mind. It all coalesced into a singular, gruesome, and agonizing image. Tori pulled over to the side of the road and concealed her face in her palms. She was unable to suppress her emotions, resulting in an uncontrollable sob. It appeared as though her heart had been fractured into 1,000 fragments, never to be reassembled. She remained seated for an extended period of time, waiting for her wrath to subside and her tears to dry. A solitary notion surfaced. What is the next step? She was aware that she could not simply disregard the situation or maintain the illusion that nothing had occurred. She was compelled to disclose the truth in order to comprehend the foundation of the situation. Tori resumed her journey to the city after gathering her stamina and starting the vehicle. She resolved to refrain from raising a fuss, screaming, or making accusations. She would endeavor to maintain her composure and attentively listen to Andre. Before making any decisions, she was required to comprehend the events that had transpired. The journey home seemed to stretch on indefinitely. Tori was engrossed in her thoughts as she drove in silence. She endeavored to envision the course of their conversation. What would Andre say? What would her response be? She was aware that it would be the most challenging conversation of her life. However, Tori ultimately opted for an alternative strategy. She returned to the village a few days later, not as a betrayed wife, but as a casual acquaintance, an anthropologist who was researching a peculiar tribe known as the family. She summoned the courage to devise a narrative. She was purportedly fascinated by the architecture of the area and the character of the older homes. It was preposterous and ridiculous, but it was something. She did not conceal herself this time. She parked by the roadside, exhaled deeply, and proceeded to the residence. Her pulse beat so audibly that it appeared to be audible to the entire street. Elena, the woman she had observed with Andre, was stationed at the gate. "Hello," Tori said quietly, endeavoring to maintain her voice. "I was informed that you possess an intriguing residence." Elena examined her attentively. Her gaze was not characterized by surprise or hostility. Rather, it conveyed a subtle sense of fatigue. She said, "Enter," as she opened the gate. "My name is Elena." Tori provided a fictitious name, Arena. They entered the residence. The interior was uncluttered and unadorned, with the aroma of freshly baked bread and infant formula. A youngster was engaged in a game in the corner. "Sasha!" Elena introduced, "This is Sasha." The youth gazed at Tori with curiosity, but he refrained from approaching. Tori attempted to avoid gazing at him too attentively as she said, "Nice to meet you." They were seated at the dining table. Tori accepted Elena's offer of tea. Elena poured scalding water in stillness, and Tori observed her. A woman who is ordinary, weary, and has kind eyes, nothing extraordinary, not a femme fatale. I am not a homewrecker, only a mother. How long have you resided in this location? Tori attempted to maintain the conversation by asking. Elena responded after a few years. And Andre? How frequently does he visit? What is the source of your knowledge? Elena placed the glasses on the table. Every Sunday he arrives, assists with household tasks. He provides assistance to Sasha and me. Tori experienced a knot in her esophagus. I observed you with him a few days ago. I am his spouse. Elena maintained her silence, gazing at Tori with an unusual comprehension. She ultimately said, "I see. Did Andre fail to inform you?" "False. I was unaware." Silence ensued. The sole sound emanating from the wall was the ticking of the clock. Tori experienced the sensation of being at an examination, where the outcome of the query determined her entire destiny. "For what reason?" Tori inquired, disturbing the silence. "What was the reason for his failure to inform me?" Elena responded, "You would need to inquire with him. However, I believe that he was apprehensive, afraid of losing you. And you? Is he your beloved?" A melancholy expression emanated from Elena. "I once harbored a profound affection for him. However, that was a considerable amount of time ago. Currently, we are merely assuming joint responsibility for Sasha, nothing more. Andre is present as a friend and a father, but he is not a man. There is no longer any barrier between us." Tori was uncertain as to whether to trust Elena. However, her sincerity rendered any doubts to be unfounded. "And he," Elena continued, gazing at her son, "he cherishes Sasha more than life itself. He is an exceptional father, consistently providing for him and offering assistance. Sasha holds him in high regard." Tori gazed at the guy. He was whistling to himself while playing with a toy vehicle. He abruptly glanced upward and encountered Tori's gaze. His eyes were not characterized by dread or hostility. Rather, they were filled with inquiry. Tori beamed at him. He reciprocated with a timid smile. "And Andre, is he content?" Tori inquired, her gaze diverting. Elena exhaled. "I am uncertain. That is a challenge for him. He is divided between two identities. He desires to be candid but is unable to do so. He is apprehensive about causing you harm. His apprehension is that Sasha may be lost. Additionally, what about myself? Does he not consider the extent to which this inflicts pain on me?" "He does. However, he harbored the hope that you would never discover the truth, that he could maintain the confidentiality of this information." Tori murmured, "I am naive, potentially. However, he did not act with malice. He was merely endeavoring to act in accordance with the best interests of all parties. Tori pondered whether it was ethical to fabricate information for an extended period of time, to conceal the truth, to maintain a dual existence. Is that accurate, or is it simply a result of timidity? What is the reason for your disclosure of this information? She inquired, gazing into Elena's eyes. On account of your apparent discomfort. Additionally, I desire for you to be informed of the truth. Andre is an honorable individual. He is not deserving of hatred. He is simply bewildered. Are you not concerned that I will remove him from your custody? Elena shook her head. False. I am confident that you will not. And even if you did, I would not restrain him by force. The primary concern is that Sasha is content. The remainder will be accomplished in due course. Tori ceased to speak. Is it possible to construct pleasure through deception? She was unaware. She experienced a conflicting array of emotions, including fury and compassion, as well as pain and forgiveness. She stood up and expressed her gratitude. I appreciate the tea and the honesty. Elena responded, You are most welcome. If you wish to converse, I am available always. Tori departed from the residence. Her heart remained dark and tormented, despite the dazzling sun and fresh air that awaited her outside. She entered the vehicle and proceeded to her residence. She required time to reflect and determine her next course of action. Waiting at his residence was Andre. He sat on the settee with his head lowered. He rose to his feet upon recognizing Tori. What was your location? He inquired. Tori gazed at him. His eyes were a mixture of optimism and dread. I was with Elena, she replied. Andre paled, but he did not deny anything. He spoke for an extended period of time, his speech hesitant, as if he were justifying himself to himself. He discussed Elena, their brief romance just prior to meeting Tori, Sasha's birth, his inability to abandon his child, his sense of responsibility, and his apprehension about informing Tori, fearing that he would lose her. He inclined his head and stated, I was aware that I was acting in a despicable manner. I was unable to see an alternative, which is why I lied to you. Tori, I did not intend to cause you any harm. No, I assure you that my affection for you has never diminished. Tori maintained her silence. She gazed at him, endeavoring to discern the truth in his eyes. She observed a stubborn resolve as well as contrition and suffering. He had made his decision, and it was not solely about him. The night transpired in silence. A chasm separates them as they lie on their respective sides of the bed. Tori was unable to fall asleep. Her mind was awash with recollections, fragments of phrases and thoughts. She remembered their existence, their affection, and their aspirations for the future. Now it all appeared fragile and surreal. She was uncertain as to whether she was experiencing wrath, pain, disappointment, or something more profound and intricate. Tori was left alone when Andre departed for work in the morning. She perambulated the flat in a manner reminiscent of a phantom. She experienced a sense of alienation and disorientation. Even the literature she had cherished for years appeared to be deceptive and hypocritical. She remained at the window and gazed out. Her life had disintegrated in an instant, despite the fact that the world continued as if nothing had happened. People raced to work, children played in the garden, and birds sang in the treetops. She recalled Elena's statements regarding Andre's character as a benevolent father, his concern for Sasha, and the fact that their relationship was characterized by mutual obligation. Tori was uncertain as to whether to trust Elena's assertions. However, Elena's tone and expression indicated that she was being entirely sincere. Tori was aware that she required time to reflect and make a decision. She was incapable of forgiving Andre simply, nor could she abandon him. They were excessively constrained. Their relationship had been overly invested. Tori informed Andre the following day that she was compelled to depart. She required solitude in order to contemplate her options. Andre did not attempt to prevent her. He comprehended. She was entitled to that. Tori traveled to a distinct village, not to Andre's parents' residence, but to an antiquated dacha that she owned. She spent a number of days there, walking through the forest, reading literature, and contemplating her existence. She recollected their initial encounter, their wedding, and their early years of marriage. Everything had been so dependable, so tranquil, and so satisfactory. Is it possible that the entire event was a fabrication? Had Andre been maintaining a double existence throughout this period? Tori was taken aback by the news. In her estimation, Andre was a man of integrity and sincerity. How could he have subjected her to this? She then recalled Elena's words, which described how Andre was apprehensive about losing her, did everything for Sasha, and did not want to inflict any harm on her. Tori gradually comprehended. She came to the realization that Andre had not betrayed her in the conventional sense. He did not pursue excitement as an additional activity. He was merely fulfilling his obligation as a father. His actions were not any less agonizing as a result, however. He had continued to deceive, betray, and deny her the right to know the truth. Tori was cognizant of the necessity of making a decision regarding her subsequent actions. She has the option to depart from Andre and embark on a new existence. She could endeavor to absolve him and continue to live as if nothing had occurred. Or she could endeavor to comprehend him, to comprehend the motivations that led him to make this decision, to comprehend the manner in which he had endured this burden for so many years. She was aware that it would be difficult. She would be required to surmount her pride, her anguish, and her sorrow. She would have to acknowledge that Andre was not flawless, that he had secrets, weak points, and faults. However, if she genuinely desired to save their family, if she truly adored Andre, she would be compelled to do so. Tori awoke one morning with a resolute determination. She was aware of the necessary actions. She returned to the city by packing her belongings and driving. Andre was anticipating her arrival. He sat on the settee with his head lowered. Tori entered the room and he raised his head. There was an immense amount of hope and anguish in his eyes, which caused Tori's heart to agonize. Tori declared, "I am aware of everything. I comprehend." Andre remained mute, anticipating her next words. Tori declared, "I have made a decision. I intend to remain." Standing, Andre approached her. He firmly embraced her. He murmured, "Thank you. I am grateful for all that you have done." Tori retreated. However, she clarified, "That does not imply that I have forgotten. It does not imply that I have extended forgiveness. It will be imperative that we exert ourselves to restore trust. We will need to acquire the ability to exist in a distinct manner." Andre agreed. He was aware that she was correct. He declares, "I am prepared for anything, provided that you are by my side." Tori beamed. She then said, "Let's depart to the village." Andre was taken aback by her appearance. "To Elena and Sasha?" he inquired. "Yes," Tori responded. "I am eager to meet them." Andre remained mute for a brief period before nodding. "All fine," he replied. "We should proceed." Tori and Andre traveled to the village the following morning. Elena and Sasha were the recipients of a container of homemade pastries that Tori had stored in the trunk. She desired to demonstrate that she harbored no resentment towards them and was prepared to incorporate them into her life. Tori's nerves were heightened as they approached Elena's residence. She was uncertain as to how she would be received or what to say. Tori received a smile from Elena as she emerged from the residence. She stated, "I was aware that you would arrive." Sasha fled and concealed herself behind Elena, gazing at Tori with interest. Elena informed Sasha, "This is Tori. She is the widow of Andre." Sasha emerged from behind Elena and gazed at Tori, at which point he smiled. "Greetings," he declared. Tori reciprocated with a smile. "Hello, Sasha," she announced. "I have brought you a delightful treat." She opened the trunk, removed the container of pastries, and presented it to Elena. She stated, "This is for you. I trust that you will appreciate it." Elena accepted the purse and expressed gratitude to her. She requested that you enter the building. "I will activate the teapot." Tori and Andre entered the residence. Sasha pursued. They conversed about a variety of topics, including the weather, their children, and life, while sipping tea at the table. Tori experienced an unusual sensation. On the one hand, she was apprehensive and uncomfortable. Conversely, she experienced a feeling of relief. She believed that she was making the correct decision.